You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Shameless After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Shameless After Show.
Woohoo! Hey guys, welcome to another AfterBuzz show for Shameless Season 4, Episode 4, called Strangers on a Train. Thanks for joining us on Monday night. We thought you guys would all be watching the Super Bowl last night, although it wasn't such a great game. No. But so we're joining you live here tonight. I'm your host, Jurgens, and I'm joined by
Joyce, Ajouri. Hey everybody.
And back doing the engineer and hosting duties.
Hello, everybody.
Put him on the spot while he's engineering. Sorry,
Phil. No worries.
And tonight we have a very special guest here, Gideon Emery, who plays Professor Moss.
Professor Moss. Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's dive right in. Let's begin by talking about Kevin and V this episode.
Oh, Kevin and V. The constant struggle with the bar now. I loved it. I thought their chemistry and their energy is always great. They were good this episode.
I agree. It's always fun to see them, and we kind of predicted, we knew Carl would find a way to somehow break into those drugs of V's.
It was so easy.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like much of a revelation, I suppose, when she's like, no! And you're like, well, I know there was like a lock, but it was glass.
It was glass.
So there was a bit of that was the... Achilles heel, I think, to that.
Yeah.
It was very Carl of him.
She might have needed to rethink her stash where she was going to hide those.
Oh, yeah. I loved how quickly she reacted, though. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was a good reaction, good moment.
And Kev is having to get creative and finds some new workers for the bar.
Yeah. He, what is it? He needed to clean out the apartment above the bar, right? The place where, I guess, Stan stayed when he was still alive. And... there was asbestos, and he went to Home Depot to hire some guys to clean it up.
Not offensive at all.
No, not at all. But, I wasn't expecting him to pick them up when he said he was going to Home Depot. That's not what I was expecting.
Right.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But in true shameless fashion.
Indeed.
Well, Bill, anything on those guys?
Just about the customers, we predicted that it's going to be a slow burn throughout the whole season of like, oh, now we're getting charged for this. And remember, so we see a lot of people obviously coming in and out, whether Mickey and this episode Lip. So it's interesting how that's taking a toll on the patrons themselves. And especially when they, as in this case, they're trying to cut corners in that respect. But like, hey, what about us? We're supposed to still, we made this bar. Why are you chipping us on the money or whatever? So I like that aspect of it, and I really think that, by episode 6, it's really going to build to something, and maybe Frank gets in there and is like, what's been going on here? And it'll be fun to see that
I'll give
really
one
develop.
of his monologues.
Exactly.
I just think he was still giving them booze, though. I mean, I don't know if they expect us to assume that he was charging them after, but they were just like, okay, I'll give you only half a shot. Or when Mickey walked in with all those hookers, what did he do? He gave them all booze. Mm-hmm. I mean, did he charge them?
Gave it to Frank's daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's just having a hard time being that guy.
Well, yeah, I guess he had to do that because, she's family, officially now. But yeah, I guess it's that whole like extended family thing. I don't know how it's the business is never going to turn a profit until they actually call in those tabs. So, yeah.
This is true.
We'll have to figure it out. Well, talking about Mickey coming in the bar, let's move on and discuss Mickey and his whores now that he has gathered.
I love the line from the father of like, if you think your wife is of any quality, trust me, she's not. I know from experience.
I love that one too, because he's just sitting there, kind of, nonchalant, tucked away, and he just throws that one out there.
He's really taken a back seat so far this season. He's not been his normal douchey asshole self.
Well, especially considering how powerful he was when he set that whole thing up and was beating people up.
Yeah. I want to hate what he's doing because, you know, he is associating himself with these people, and I want Mickey to be better than that. But I think he's trying to help them, if anything. So he's not necessarily doing a bad thing.
There does seem to be some sort of, there's some sort of wholesome kind of quality to
in his own way.
Yeah.
Plus, he's trying to help Kevin after he suggested renting out the apartment upstairs to their job, basically. Having them bring their work up there and pay rent.
Yeah, I felt sorry for Mickey when he was trying to make a legitimate, like, stick up for these ladies, and then all she does is go get a whole group of
a new truckload of rides. Yeah.
Poor Mickey.
And that's the first time he meets her as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's also that kind of thing like he's just going to get slaughtered. You don't mess with the Russians. You don't. You know. But I guess I know she was very pleasant, and she was like, "Hey, it's business, and good luck, buddy," kind of thing, you know.
I just loved how he was like, "You're Sasha."
Yeah, not at all what he's
like,
expecting.
Backed away.
Yep. Well, I'd like to see. I hope this maybe does become a good business for. You know, I'd like him to become the big pimp daddy and maybe create some income.
I mean, and also notice, I mean, at least for me, I didn't remember him mentioning Ian in any way, so this is proving to be some sort of distraction, something to keep him preoccupied from thinking about Ian.
At least for now, though. I mean, just
Well, of course.
he had a prostitute try to, you know, do him and without even a strap on. It's just still funny to me. Like if you're gonna simulate anything, like how is that even working? So I think. Yeah, so maybe distraction, very short-lived, though.
Very short-lived, definitely.
So.
Yeah.
I kind of want, I kind of want better things, because that's the thing. You kind of want better things for all of them, because they all do deserve better, but they just keep, you know, making poor choices, kind of thing. And what's sad is that this seems the most viable business proposition. You know, out of what's going, sort of thing, you know, and it's like, but it kind of it seems like it kind of makes a lot of sense
He's
right
making
now,
the most
you know.
of what he's got.
And it makes more sense than the bar right now, kind of thing. So I don't know.
And especially since it's so close to him, since it is his wife, and he's got to take care of family. And
I still want to know if that baby is his. The baby in her belly. I guess we'll find that out later. Do you know?
I've no idea.
Thought I'd ask.
Well, let's move on and start talking about Lip. So, Lip had a big episode this week. A lot going on at school.
Yeah. I mean, he came back to the bar after, you know, failing to come into your test on time. And he wanted to quit so bad. But something in him changed. And something in Professor Moss changed, too, and let him take that test.
Yeah, I mean, it was a sweet, you know, ending, you know, all in all. I was quite. I got to say, when I got the script for that episode, and you know, you're reading through and stuff, and I was like, you know, like a touching, you know, a little scene, and it was just lovely. It was lovely. I mean, he has like a sort of a little bit of a relapse, and I think what's interesting is you got on this show, it's like the kids. Don't know what the right choices are to make in life, kind of thing, because they don't have these role models, you know, great role models. The adults should know better, but, you know, they just continually mess up, kind of thing. And then you got Lip and kind of Fiona, I guess, who have a chance to kind of break out of these shackles of what the card they've been dealt, you know, and that Frank's kind of, you know, pissed on their sort of foundation and upbringing and stuff, and you know, they make poor choices here and there, but it's like they just kind of they're so close. They're so close to making things work. You know, Lip's like so close to kind of becoming like a member of like the workforce and you know, like college educated, man. You know, like just like stepping out of that thing. And Fiona as well is like, it's a real job, but now she's had a whole goodness. I mean, her thing.
Yes.
Wow. You know, but it is. It's like you were saying. It's like an addiction, I guess.
For me, what I like, one of my favorite parts was when your character told him, you know, I think about the person that you took over. right? The number 2 kid in the scholarship, and you know the choices that he would have made, and he would have been here. You didn't, and he throws out the BS thing of, you know, what if I was giving CPR? Well, you know what? Maybe in life you need to also account for those emergencies. And I really think that speech, coupled with Kevin later on, really got to Lip, and it was like, okay, you know what? I can possibly do this. You know, I just need to do it in the right way, and, you know, I'm lying to everyone else around me, but it's not fooling me. I just need to tell the truth to myself, if nothing else.
Yeah, he needs to be held responsible.
I felt so sorry for him, though, when he comes to your class to take the test after we'd seen him studying, really trying to do the right thing, you know.
No,
and then
the thing
he
is,
gets,
he's one of those kids. It's like the kid who you know cries wolf kind of thing. You know, it's like he's continually messing up, and then he, you know, it's out of his control completely. It could have happened to any one of those, you know, straight, you know, nerdy little kids, you know, who would never have. But yeah, unfortunately, he looks like one of those things. He's set up, you know. He's he's set himself up as like a bit of a bad egg, but look, hey, it worked out in the end, and you go like, well, okay, maybe there is hope after all. Maybe society can make a little space for, you know, for the Lips of the world to kind of try, fail, and try again. You know?
What was the shirt that, remember, Lip was wearing? Like,
fucking, fuck you, you fuck you, you fucking fuck.
Exactly. So, you know, you don't want to judge a person by what he's wearing, but again, it doesn't send a message when every
help.
other word on
Yeah.
your shirt.
Especially in the dean's office.
Yes.
Yeah, not good.
I love that he wore that shirt.
At least I thought, turn it inside out before if you're really going to plead your case before going into the dean.
But see, amongst all this, I don't want him to lose himself. Like, he should still be Lip, but, you know, adapt to something like this. Be in this role as a student and succeed at it, but still be himself. I like that shirt was still
I think
on
that's
him.
also I think that's part of the problem is because he knows he's better than the life he's led up till now kind of thing, and then, you know, there you see him like studying, you know, and he's like acing all the answers kind of thing, and, you know, he's got this, you know, he has a head on his shoulders kind of thing. But I think what this means though is if he steps out of the life he's led up till now, you know, it's a foreign world. He doesn't know those people, and those people are the very people he despises, you know, or he has despised up until now, kind of thing. And like, what does that say about him if he's one of them now, you know? And that means he's kind of, you know, flipping the bird to the life and the people that he knows, you know.
It's true.
Which is interesting because I mean, he hates them so much, so then he runs back to home thinking that it's going to be this
goes back to
war,
crazy,
and then writes
crying out
yes,
loud, you know,
yeah.
for a little bit of crazy love.
And she like punches him. That was a good. She decked him.
He didn't exactly come off as he just wanted some booty. Okay, and I mean, as much as he cares about her, he still came to her at a time where he just needed like an escape.
Yeah.
Maybe he cared, but
Well, even
how
just
much?
the line, even to follow up, like, she says, I have a boyfriend. Well, is he here?
Yeah.
You know, it's just a throwaway. It's not going to mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And the fact that he mentioned he wouldn't mind having a little brat running around like his own kid, I was like, no.
And I loved her
It's
in the
not
moment,
real.
actually. And I haven't been her biggest fan throughout the years, but I actually really liked her in those scenes because she was like, no, you know, that's not what I need. I don't need to be sitting here taking care of your kid while you're off at, you know, college and she's left there. And I like to see her standing up and telling him to suck it up and get out of there and really decking him.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
that she
But there's
did that.
something about Lip is he's so earnest though the whole time. He's so very, very earnest. You know, it's very much what you see is what you get kind of thing. And they're not all like that. You know, they all seem to be like kind of working their schemes and stuff. And, you know, and he can, you know, he can a little bit, but for the most part, he just seems so genuine. You know,
Yeah,
it seems like
agree.
he. You know, he belongs in a different family. You know, he does deserve better. So it's nice that he kind of, I don't know, has the getting his toes wet in a better life kind of thing.
Yeah. So as his professor, when you turned him away, did you think you would push him to do the right thing,
I
or
got
what?
a comment on that scene which has nothing to do with what the scene's about. I have to confess I arrived that day for work at like 6 a.m. I had no voice at all, which is like the worst thing for an actor to arrive on set, like or like a gig. And this was my voice.
Oh,
I
no.
couldn't project more than this. literally, I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I told them when I arrived, and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I know, because what am I gonna do? Call them at 5 in the morning? It's like they're not gonna. What can they do? But I was like so fortunate that the nature of the scene kind of lent itself to that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm totally gonna loop that scene and like re-record it. But fortunately we didn't, and fortunately, Lip was kind of had to bring his whole thing down here as well.
Yeah.
Not that he would have been big, but you know what I mean. It's like he had to meet this kind of thing that it was here. But thank goodness that was what the scene was, and not me going like, hey, blah, 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 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it totally worked.
I was so stressed. I was so stressed. That's probably like why I look like really intense when I open the door, kind of thing. 'cause
Hey, it
I'm
worked.
doing
Yeah.
my best
Totally
to
worked.
get something out, because that was all I had. It was pathetic.
I thought it was great because to me it just read that they're all taking the test. You didn't
Yeah.
want them to be interrupted by his tardiness and or being respectful to the
But
kids.
also, when you let him in, I mean, there is obviously some sort of secrecy to the fact that you're letting him, come in and.
My voice was normal then.
Oh, it was normal
Yeah,
then?
Yeah, yeah. So that was just
Okay.
a choice.
Well.
Obviously. No. When I don't let him into the test thingy, that whole
okay.
whisper thing, yeah.
Well, I think it was great because it made it intense too. Because even I remember when he had his hand on the door and you just gave him a look, like get that hand off there, and he has
Yeah.
to sheepishly take it
Yeah.
away. So I
Yeah.
thought it played very nicely.
Yeah, but he's
He
also
covered
like,
it
don't
well.
be a prick or whatever, It's
Yeah.
like, because that's the thing. It's like he's trying so hard, but then that doesn't help his case. It's like, because I'm gonna warm to him.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a professor like Professor Moss?
Yeah, that would suggest that I was a difficult student, which I wasn't. So
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think Professor Moss was is particularly. I think he's just very by the book. I mean, well, if you're talking about the flip side, where someone who's gone the extra mile kind of thing. I mean, yeah, there's like a teacher or two, I guess, who those kind of, because they're so. They so dictate how you feel about your subjects and stuff, and it really can make a difference.
That's true.
Huge difference, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, yeah. It's a roundabout answer.
Phil, anything?
We spoke in terms of the Mandy / the abortion thing. I think for me what that stems to is the fact that in his whole life, Lip has never had to really make a choice. He's been forced to do these things, and with college, that's really a choice. It's what's supposed to, and it's obviously we talked about it represents a better life, but I think ultimately that's what he's afraid of, to be able to make his own choices and live in the own world. By being hammered in by the man, so to speak, he has to do things a certain way, and there's only one choice, and you could call it just to survive or whatever. And so he's afraid of anything more than he's afraid of his success ultimately.
But I think it's also I mean in addition to that, it's kind of, if you keep acting a certain way, you can always blame. If you can always blame somebody else for your BS kind of thing, it's so much easier. You can go like, yeah, well, it's because of what? It's because of the family. It's because of this. It's because of the parents. It's because I don't have any money. It's because of my dad. It's because of this kind of thing. Whereas like, if he does this, if he graduates and whatever, then it's all on him. It's all on him, and then he has to, he has to really take responsibility for that. So yeah.
I really like the moment too when Kev lays into him about it, and he just gives him that talk, and I thought that was, I don't know, I really liked that moment of the heart to heart and him kind of, because it's like Lip was so proud of how he had bashed in all the cars and was acting out and running from
that's his like his opening gambit with Mandy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would impress her.
It's like, huh?
But she was impressed.
And she was, and that's
Yeah.
exactly, that's what he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how Kevin was kind of Lip's bigger brother. I mean, Lip doesn't have an older brother to really look up to, so to have Kevin kind of give him advice and tell him to just grow a pair, like, you got this, you earned this, you're smart enough to be a part of it, just go with it. Yeah.
Me too. Well, somebody who I'm not so fond of this episode, let's talk about Fiona.
Oh boy, this whole season. So
Naughty. Getting fingered on the train.
Is
Old
admitting the
ladies
first
watching
step?
it.
Because she admits to V that she has a problem.
Kind of.
Yeah, I like V calling her out on
Yeah.
it.
I do too. voice of reason.
Yes, he's always.
But
you could have called, but you
yeah, I
didn't know
was
about it.
I was telling JJ earlier. I'm so glad they addressed that because it's so obvious. Like she could have just done that. She could have just texted him, just like he's been texting her this whole time. But instead, like he suspected, like she wants it. Like she wanted to be there with him physically, and she wanted to see what would happen. She was just tempted. She took the hard way.
I'm so upset with her. I love Mike, and I just feel like Robbie's no good, and I think seeing Robbie, how he reacted when Mike came over to his apartment and she was hiding under the table, and he purposely wanted to lead them in there,
Yeah.
and then
Jerk.
teasing, and then he looked back and like mocked her on his way back out, and I was just like, oh, what is she doing?
He's an ass. I know that he's got a lot of qualities that Jimmy, holds, the qualities that Fiona likes, but he is a straight up jerk. Steve wasn't even that much of a jerk, or Jimmy, or
Jimmy, Steve.
Stimmy.
But again, unlike with Steve Jimmy, I don't blame Robbie in this situation. I'm with JJ. I blame
Right.
her because now it's a pattern, right? First time, you get fooled once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
It's true. No, I totally agree. She could control it just as much as.
And so
She
many
wants to.
moments where it's just been, I mean, it is like this whole game to her too, because it's like having the first time they have sex with Mike being in the next room, and then Robbie's texting her in front of him at the office, and it's
My heart was beating so fast while I was watching. I was like, no, I know how she feels. Those situations.
oh, you do?
I mean, like that.
Do tell.
Yeah.
I mean, that feeling of like, oh crap, I gotta hide this, and it's not easy.
But now you see, it's set up this whole thing. It's like now that's they've set it up. It's like that's how it has to be now. For them to, for it to happen. So she either has to go cold turkey, or they have to find something more and more, risque and dangerous to,
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
play out.
How did she know where he lived all of a sudden?
How did he
I
know
was
which
like-
stop
I
to get
didn't
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Or like which
I don't know how
specific
he-
train? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's
The
sneaky.
answer is
know.
we'll
Sneaky.
never know. But to me, again, it's just we're headed such a crash because of the number one thing in Mike's life, honesty, and he's getting burned in so many ways. Obviously,
He was a bit. Sorry to interrupt, but he
Go
was
ahead.
a little bit harsh that first time round.
Oh,
What
yeah.
was it about? It was
When she didn't
ma-
call him or something.
Yeah, she didn't say what did she not admit? And then when he gave her the whole speech, the whole honesty
yeah,
speech.
she it was about the phone call and it was about the
car.
car got broken and things like that. And so she was hiding the
Right.
truth. But
Right.
again, there's a difference between hiding the truth and lying. And again, if he flips out that much over
Yeah.
not picking up a phone call, imagine.
It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal
Yeah.
if he does find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too awful for words. Yeah.
Well, they explained his ability to. It's hard for him to trust people based on his marriage, his ex-wife, and everything. So I don't blame him for being so hard on Fiona with this stuff, but at the same time, it's true. Like he needed to calm it down a little
But
bit.
even within his own family, like I don't think, obviously, what's going on. Robbie's lied to him in the past, not about these things, because I don't think that's happened, because that'd be unforgivable. But I think just about taking money and being addicted to drugs and things like that. There's definitely a history of that within the family and lies.
And I felt bad for him when he showed up at Robbie's house and he was like, how much did you ask for from Dad? That money is from the business that I tirelessly work for, that I earn. He's like, Mom and Dad aren't that rich. I felt for him because he is working so hard and he is trying to live an honest, good life. And here's Robbie like swooping in out of nowhere.
And he's not even giving Robbie that much of a
No,
hard
I
time
don't
either.
think
I was
so
like,
at all.
I was waiting for him to just kind of like just call him a complete dick and what a loser you are and kind of make a go of your life,
Yeah.
already sort of thing. And yet, meanwhile, he's like, said, okay, well, just okay, buddy, and he's just like so sweet. He's like
Yeah.
just too sweet.
That's what makes it so
And-
difficult.
And I think the problem is it's like it's so sweet that it it kills Fiona. I think, but then there's probably something that she hates about that because it's too freaking good. He's too goody two shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like she's flawed. She knows she's flawed. Everyone in her life is flawed. She understands flawed. That makes sense to her, you know. And someone who's like now, you know, living this whole, I don't know, it's like he's too shining. He's too shiny.
Yeah, we had talked about that a few episodes ago, just when they were having their sex scenes, and he was always asking her, you know, is there anything more? Is there anything more?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, that's what she likes, though. Somebody like Jimmy who's just gonna just do it and not like keep asking the niceness of asking over and over and
Yeah.
checking in
Right.
with her. She
She
just
wants-
wants somebody to
Right,
take
right, right, right.
control and be a
Exactly.
little more.
She wants that stranger on a train to show up, and
That's next week.
can't wait.
There you go. They're gonna take it to another level.
Them join the Mile High
Yep.
Club. Yeah,
but she's
she
not.
wants that.
She's got to think about the kids, right?
Yeah.
The job's always looming above her. And remember, last season when she took over at the custody of the kids, she's got to. It's one thing to kind of have that in the back of your mind, and when you're the only person that can provide that, you got to really think about that.
I think she doesn't know what to do with her newfound, financial freedom and the fact that she can't afford to do things. I think she's trying to juggle everything, and I think last season when she didn't have the job, she didn't have the money or the people or the friends to go out and like hang out and do whatever. But now that she does and she has the money, she's trying to decide maybe like, well, I want this relationship, I want these friends, but I also need to take care of my kids.
I think that's why I'm surprised that she hasn't had a little more hesitations about the Robbie situation because of the job, because I just feel like that would have been more present in her mind all the time, like,
Yeah.
oh, I could not only lose this for myself but lose it for everybody else.
Yeah,
but it
I
doesn't
would be
seem to really be
paranoid.
much. She's-
Wouldn't-
yeah.
And she's also got, I mean, she's also got talents, like there she was, like schmoozing that guy and
Yeah,
at the
really good at
stadium and
that.
stuff,
Yeah.
I know we're going episode back, but you're going like, wow, they got like so much potential, just water them and, but unfortunately they're not leading towards the sun,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what kills me the most is, when she's trying to give advice to Debbie, in all of this, and how warranted or good can your advice be if this is the life you're leading? And that's what kills me the most.
I would say her advice was better than Mandy's advice.
This is true.
Her advice, I was like, no, Debs, don't listen to her. When Mandy was telling her to take a selfie and send it to her boyfriend.
I was very scared when she showed up
I was
at
so
Mandy's for
scared.
advice that, oh no, just when we thought it couldn't get worse with
Yeah.
Debs, she's going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
in trouble.
But I think Fiona's a little desperate to be there more for them, but she doesn't really know how to juggle the two, all the things. Yeah.
Let's dive into talking more about Deb's situation.
I
So-
always get frightened of this topic.
I know you do.
Poor Debs.
You guys speak on it. You guys are girls. Well, first off, I will say this. Thank God she did not lose her virginity.
Yes.
Thank God. And you know what? The 20-year-old boyfriend, Maddie.
Yeah.
You know what? I know we've been ragging on him but he really is a good guy.
He is a
If there
good
was
guy.
any doubt,
Yeah.
he is a good guy, and thank God he had
Plain
the right
and
sense
simple.
of mind to put an end to it and say no.
But I was curious. He kept saying it's not the right time, and she said why. He said because she's 13. And if he were to say
So
that,
what? So it's like, so now is it cool then? What they're gonna like just hang out at his place and have
Exactly.
coffee and
Right,
pizza and
for the
watch
next
movies
5 years,
Exactly, yeah.
what are they gonna
don't
do?
know.
Is he gonna like still court her? Like I don't know. It just seems
there's
very
something
strange.
a little, yeah. I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like you go like, hey, he's a sweet guy. He doesn't want to, do anything nasty, and he, he sees her as like a buddy. But then, is it appropriate? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's appropriate on the show, obviously. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. He seems like such a good guy,
does.
But like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
I think it's great casting on this one because, yeah, we've been torn whether he's going to be a good guy or not. And Phil and I have been rooting for him. And I think he is a nice guy. But, yeah, like you said, I mean, if there's anybody else who I guess maybe looked a little more advanced, I don't know, he's got such a
He's-
wholesome, like...
Yeah, he's
like,
wholesome.
just
He's like very
yeah.
preppy, sweet, and yeah.
He seems
Yeah.
to be trying, he's living on his own, so he must be doing something right with, work or whatever he's got going on for him. We don't know yet.
Honestly, I think for a 20-year-old, he's so pathetic that this is no, but in the sense that this is the only person he could really hang out. Yeah, she may have guy friends, and that's all well and good, but in terms of a girl that he can hang out with, it's sad that this is all he can do is hang out with a 13-year-old girl who admires him, because I don't think a 20-year-old girl finds.
Well, maybe all the 20-year-olds in where they live are like Holly, and he doesn't want someone like Holly, and he could see the difference, like how different Debs is.
But
I
you
don't
think
know.
maybe there'd be a 16 or 17-year-old at least that he could just wait like
Just
2
some-
years,
some-
you know?
some
They're
in
all
between.
corrupt. They're all corrupt and probably
All corrupt.
disease-ridden. I don't know.
Wow.
Well,
Based on Holly's track record, that's what I'm going by.
well, also on Mandy's. I'm gonna go off of Mandy's.
Okay, Mandy too.
And plus, I mean, at what point did Fiona lose her virginity? What did she say? 14, right? Something like that.
I think so.
Young.
Yeah.
So,
That's
they're
really young.
Yeah, and of course, Mandy's. What's taking you so long? Her response to why she hasn't lost her virginity yet
Yeah.
at 13.
And she's like, finally, you get it. It's
Yeah.
like someone who understands.
Like,
You're like, oh.
no.
Yeah.
Don't go to Mandy.
So I was really nervous when then she leaves out of Maddie's apartment, though, and goes running back to the arcade and traps, I don't remember the guy's name, that she drags into the bathroom then with her. The other guy that got left
forgot
behind
his
by
name, too.
Holly.
I will give them credit in the sense that they both had great tactics. Well, why don't we do it the way you've done it in the past?
And then at least it was great because once they were in the stall, you knew neither of them, knew what the hell they were doing, and it was like, okay, well, this is just gonna end awkwardly, and yeah.
I love how she
I mean,
But kind of sweet when he actually.
Yeah, like we don't have to do
I
this.
did. I loved it. Come on, Phil. That
Which
was a
is-
great moment.
No, it was a great moment, and so true to that age.
It's true.
So,
Well, him and Lip both this episode.
Yeah. So any age it could be.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Start talking about Frank this episode.
Oh my goodness.
Frank and Carl really have quite the relationship going.
Oh my god. I almost cried when Carl broke his leg. I couldn't handle
the worst.
it.
It was
Oh
just
my god.
the slow. And they could have had him like strapping on the first weight. We get the thing, and then the next thing could have been him on the top of the staircase, or the step ladder. But instead, we have to watch the painstaking each freaking plate.
I couldn't watch.
It was excruciating because you know what's coming, and you're like,
I know.
and then the slow mo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the shooting up.
And just passes
And
out.
it was just yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I cringed. I couldn't watch it. I watched in between my fingers.
Oh, Carl.
That's terrible.
What I mean, everything is like what a twisted relationship. But I mean, what more could you ask? From a child, what kind of love?
Yeah.
And then he bundles him in the wheelbarrow, and then wheels him down to
Sheila's house.
Sheila's house. Priceless.
That was
Priceless.
so funny. It's clever.
Yeah.
It's clever. I'll have to say that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, well, this is fine breaking his leg here. Then what?
Yeah.
He's got the whole plan. He's got the whole thing worked out.
He's
Yeah.
crazy. He's a crazy smart cookie.
He
Breaking
really
into
is.
B's house, breaking his dad's leg.
Then he
I
wheels
know.
them all the way down to the daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
that's
no
right.
hope. There's no hope for him, by the way. Just
Oh, yeah.
lip might break out.
I refuse to believe that.
He's toast.
I refuse.
He's toast.
I have to agree with
It's
you.
a life of
Carl's-
crime.
Yeah.
He'll be a crime leader.
Yeah.
He'll have his own mob.
I guess if there's one Gallagher kid not to make it, it would be Carl.
They're
But
not really
not
making it to begin
Well,
with.
he's going to make it just in the nefarious underworld.
Maybe Carl could
Chicago.
team up with Mickey, and then they could start their own
Oh my god.
business.
that would be a good. Yeah, that might work. Carl likes his boobies.
He does. He does like movies. It'd be like camp all the time for
Yeah.
him.
But I loved how Frank told his daughter that she was his daughter.
On accident.
Didn't even
and like-
mean to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair to Frank, and I Frank's so quick-witted that he could have just been like, no, I'm not talking about you, my other, my actual
yeah.
daughter.
Yeah.
When I initially tried to get it, and now it just sucks because she wasn't right, and now you're not right, and so it's just cruel.
Yeah.
God, F him.
But he failed. Well, I think it was all the drugs he was on.
Could have been it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I like how you said dry humping is not incest.
Oh my god.
That was a good line.
No shame.
That's so weird.
She came back for more.
She
She wanted.
Yeah, I thought it was so strange. She
I
was
did too.
she still had that that desire to kind of just be close to him and kind of.
I think there was this kind of
romantic.
connection, but I don't know if it's that necessarily. I think she felt this connection with this guy, and here was a guy who seemed kind of sweet in his messed up way, you know, and the fact that he didn't kind of jump on her from the get-go because he was like, okay, she's my daughter, and he could like restrain himself for, I don't know, 48 hours or something, let's say, you know, was probably refreshing for her, you know, and I guess her coming back going like, well, there is kind of a connection here, and you're like, hey, it's sweet, they could have a relationship, and then of course the bit at the end,
When he's
you know,
got a
they're looking at
little-
the thing and then he has to grab the cushion to
Yeah, that part I was
hide
like,
his
oh no.
erection. You're like, okay, that's just
This
unfortunate.
is terrible.
Yeah.
I think that her daddy issues are beyond that. Who knows how how far she'll go or when she'll stop. You know, these feelings that she had pre Frank as her dad.
Well, I felt sorry for her when she asked him, you know, how she tells him how long she wondered about her dad and where he was, and asked if he ever thought of her, and he's just like, no.
Yeah,
Aw.
I know.
That was a little brutal.
It was
Yeah.
really brutal, but I thought it was sweet that she came back to him, that she found him and she sat and talked to him. She wants a relationship, but who knows what that's going to turn out to be like.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. I really want to see Fiona get into the picture. Well, you know, right now we've been talking about how there's been a chaos, but it's, I mean, in the Gallagher household, there hasn't been much chaos. It's pretty regulated, but now you throw her in, and Fiona versus her, and what she's dealing with Mike and whatnot. That's going to be a great little bit.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to see Fiona and Sammy kind of fight it out. Maybe Sammy finds out that Fiona is a perfect match for Frank, and she tries to force Fiona into giving her that small piece of her liver, and just drama ensues. That would be a crazy storyline.
And he's got to be hanging around the house the whole time now because his legs, you know,
Yeah.
you can't really get
Yeah.
around unless you
It's
work
true.
some clever scheme. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows what's up his sleeve?
Who knows? All right, anything else from anybody about this episode?
Overall, a good episode.
Yeah,
gotta
I liked
say.
it. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
Mad at Fiona still.
Yes, me too.
I think we'll continue to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I did like Frank's thing, like, I quit drinking. You know, like when she's like, you know, you're my dad. I nearly, you know.
Yeah.
I love that it always comes back to those sort of bottom lines. And her get out. I'm sorry, we didn't.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
like something from The Exorcist.
That
It
was-
was quite spectacular.
That was great.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow.
Even
that's
that
hectic.
shocked
And then
Frank,
he was
nothing
like,
shocked
wow.
Frank. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, haven't seen anything quite like that before.
Yeah, I'm
That
glad
was
you brought that
awesome.
up. That was an excellent scene. Then she's banging the
Yeah.
pots
She
and
threw
she's
him
like, yeah,
out.
and the wheelchair.
Yeah.
I probably would have
great.
reacted the same way.
She was like a woman possessed. Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of her. I really am excited. I really want Mike to find out about all this, and I really want to see that explosion.
Yeah.
too.
Oh man.
that'll be quite the explosion.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to our special guest.
Oh shoot! I
Ask
thought we were
some
done. I was like,
questions.
I was like, hey, I think I covered all those little beats.
We're not letting you out of here yet. So, what was it like for you, you know, working with these Gallaghers?
It was cool. It was cool. I didn't, you know, have a whole bunch to do with anyone else really. You know, it was kind of mainly just like Lip, but you know, super cool. Chicago was cold.
Was it?
Chicago was cold.
I can imagine.
You know,
Windy.
I mean,
when
they-
did you guys actually film?
Yeah.
and it wasn't that. You know, it wasn't. It was pre the whole cold spell.
Yeah.
So
Polar
I'm so like I become soft here, in LA, you know, and it's
Me
like,
too.
it was, I don't know, it was low 30s or high
Oh my
20s or
gosh.
something or whatever, which felt desperately cold, you know, next to like it gets into the sort of like the mid 60s here, and I'm like, ooh, I need a sweater. You know, it's pathetic. You know. So that was cold. I was meant to have a hat. A cap, like a little sort of cap on my head, and when I'm walking at the end scene, and Lip stops me, but I got a big head, and the cap didn't. The head didn't fit. So it was cold, man. It was cold. I had like warmers in my pocket. But it was cool. It was good stuff. I was stylish. Professor Moss had some stylish
he did.
threads, man. It was a nice coat. It's about as stylish as I've looked in a while. Yeah.
It's going to be your inspiration for your wardrobe in the future.
I want that coat, man. I want that coat.
They wouldn't let you just take it as a souvenir?
Oh no. I saw what it was. It's an expensive. Expensive wardrobe that'll be staying there. Yeah. What else?
How long were you there shooting?
Not long. I mean, they do. They do interiors here, and then they'll do exteriors there for like what are they there for? Like, I don't know, 10 days or 2 weeks or something. Every so often and stuff. I was just there for a couple of days. It was cool though, like riding on the train and stuff and whatever. And it's I'd never been to Chicago before, so it was super cool to do that. Got to see some theater and walk around. I saw the Bean and
Cool.
yeah, it was really
pizza.
cool.
I've always wanted
it
to
was
go.
cold though. I just felt so cold.
Oh yeah,
I don't have like
They have a
warm
wind chill there.
clothing. You
Yeah.
need wind. That's the thing. That's that whole windy
Yeah.
Chicago. It's like, the windy city. It's like, I understand.
Yeah.
It's cold, and then when the wind blows, it's a lot colder. Yeah.
Are we gonna see any more of Professor Moss in the future? How much?
I don't know.
more?
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what's happened now. I don't think. I don't think in this season we see any more of him. I don't know what that means for Lip and Class. We'll have to find out.
Shoot, we were hoping we'd see some more.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I
know.
predict
Yeah.
that we will.
Yeah, I feel like it's like next thing, like Professor Moss is like coming over to the Gallagher household and just after class. So here, what you want to do? What am I doing? What am I doing there? It's like some kind of.
I like to think that Lip will become one of his favorite students.
It's
And
possible.
maybe
It's
he'll
unlikely,
take him
but-
under his wing and kind of be a mentor to him.
That's what I was seeing happening, though. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that will too.
Maybe.
Maybe Professor Moss has some sort of parallels with Lip. I don't know. Growing up, maybe.
Oh, in his
it's the
past?
same.
Okay.
Yeah, in his past. I don't know.
Maybe.
We shall see. So you do a lot of voiceover work too. I actually read that you were known as the voice in South Africa.
Yeah,
Talk a
kind
little
of.
bit.
Yeah.
That's what your bio said.
I did a lot of-
Quotes
I did a
the
lot of-
voice.
I did a lot of. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like, hey, it's the voice. Excuse me, sir. Aren't you the voice
Of
It's
South
like,
Africa.
I was. Although I did have this morning walking the dogs, I did have a neighbor said, and he was working out because this one guy works out in his garage, has like a trainer and stuff, and I'm walking the dogs on the other side of the street, and I've got like a hood on. It was cold this morning. I don't know, like 7 o'clock or something, and he's like, excuse me, and I'm like, and there's a dude going like, are you on Shameless? And I was like, well, yeah, last night I was, yeah. He's like, I saw that. I was like, okay. And then went and bent over and picked up poop off the lawn, because that's what you do when you have dogs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot? Do you get
Picking up
recognized a
poop
lot?
every day.
Oh.
Every
Well,
day.
that, yeah.
Most of
Same
the time
here.
it's picking up other people's poop. It annoys
Yeah.
me no end. I want to plant one of these cameras, like infrared. They're one of those like game cameras, like motion sensitive at
Kinect.
night. No, they just go like and find out who's bringing their dogs and letting them take a dump on
Yeah.
my yard.
I hate
That's
that.
Yeah,
got
it's
nothing
rude.
to
One of my
do
pet
with-
peeves.
there was an actual question in there somewhere. I kind of got into a whole
It's okay.
non-industry related. The voices, did a lot of voice. Yeah, did a lot of voice, mainly like commercial VO and stuff. And
You've also done a lot of voices for video games.
I have.
Which of those games have you played and or completed?
Completed nothing. Completed nothing. I didn't have a console until a few years ago, so I couldn't play, I suppose. And then, I mean, the skill required to play these games, skill and patience, I mean, I think I have, my motor skills are pretty decent, although I did tell you that I wiped out on the sidewalk on the way here. I'm looking to see my hands looking
yeah.
pretty decent. But the recovery was good, so the motor skill's not so great in that I tripped, but the recovery was good, so there is some motor skill ability. But it's like, you got to do so much, and I borrowed one of the first games I worked on that came out that I was like, was GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which was like a James Bond
Cool.
video game, and I was, who was I? I was Blofeld. AKA number one or whatever, and so it was like a voice match thing. So I was kind of like chuffed with that, and getting to sort of voice a bit of like an iconic character, and I borrowed a friend's PlayStation, and I bought the disc, and I put it in, and I could barely get. I think I got to my character once, but I kept dying, and I couldn't save it because I didn't have a memory card or whatever, and it was just horrible. I was just probably if I'd lived with the system for a while, I would have gotten better. I played. I mean, I wish I'd played Final Fantasy, but I don't have Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy was fun, and that was the first really big role I had. This character Balthier. That was also PlayStation, but yeah. I don't really have the patience to do like the storyline stuff as a player. I'm kind of very
it
old
takes a
school,
lot of
like
dedication.
Asteroids,
Galaga.
first person shooter type stuff. So yeah, Galaga.
I love
exactly.
Galaga.
Oh, Galaga. I thought you meant Galaga as in throwback to Shameless.
Oh, well, that
Like,
makes
'cause
sense
they,
too.
they wouldn't be doing the fantasy games. It would be very much just. Well, they were playing games in the episode as well. weren't
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was
Galaga
playing
was fun. Galaga was a fun game. Yeah.
Dead Space, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. You see, you obviously do play games.
So you've been on True Blood and Teen Wolf and variety of films and other TV shows. Is there a project out there that you're just dying to do, or that you really would like to do?
One where they don't kill me off. One where I yeah. It's. There's a couple of interesting things. I mean, there's it's funny. It's like now it's pilot season and stuff, and so I've read for a couple of pilots, and there are one or two really cool things there. But I'm happy working on stuff that amuses me, and I've been lucky where I've had fun on most of the things I've got to do. I do like what I like about my job is that I don't do the same thing, every day sort of thing. And so where I get to do, where it gets to be a different character is always fun. If I get to play, with an accent, that's always fun. I am trying to be a bit more sort of mainstreamy. It's kind of interesting watching this Professor Moss guy because he's so very straight-laced, and I've spent a lot of time in Hollywood. Which is the phrase I wanted to say, but it just sounds so silly. I spent a lot of time in Hollywood. But I mean, playing like creepy bad guys, and so it's nice to kind of be moving into with like Last Resort, where it was. I mean, he was kind of a bad guy, but he was still he could have been an ally sort of thing, where it's more sort of military type role and stuff. And so it's nice to move a little out of the extreme character into more mainstream stuff. But I love stuff like dream roles, stuff like Damian Lewis, the kind of stuff he's done, apart from being a really fine actor, some great projects like Life. What a great series, and Homeland as well. And what they both have in common is that you've got someone who's leading one life on the surface and something else at home, kind of thing. There's something else under the surface that's going on, And in Life, it was him sort of piecing that whole thing together, like who framed him, and in Homeland, the whole sort of double blind, isn't he, a terrorist kind of thing, and those sort of roles I think are really, really interesting, Yeah, when you get to stretch yourselves a little bit, and yeah, that's a long answer.
That was wonderful.
Do you kind of watch a lot of the TV shows that you do work on? Like, for example, you seem very knowledgeable of Shameless. Were you a fan beforehand, before you did it?
A little bit. I do try and watch a lot of TV, and then if I'm going to go and audition for something, then I really try and really freshen up on it. And certainly if I haven't watched it, which is occasionally the case, then try and kind of cram some info just to see like the tone of the show and stuff. But what happens is I start to kind of get into shows I'm not already into, and then I was like, I've got so much stuff to watch. I've got
Good stuff.
and then there's shows like I've had nothing to do with, which I really need to catch up on, like Breaking Bad and stuff. I'm like 2 seasons
I'm
behind,
still working on it too.
Exactly, and it's Yeah, absolutely. I don't. I mean, you can go in, I suppose, and audition for stuff where you haven't seen the show, but I don't think it's. I think you need to see the
need to do
tone for
research.
one thing. You know. I don't think you always have to know what all the relationships are if you're only coming in for a few scenes kind of thingy. But like like joining Teen Wolf. I knew it was going to be for a good stretch, and I watched everything. I watched the first 2 seasons to get up to speed,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
see
now I'm
you're.
watching Shameless all the time.
I see you're a bit of a sketch artist.
I'm a dude. I'm a, just
You're a
I'm a
doodler.
nervous doodler. It's like somebody was asking last
Yeah,
time
it's pretty
like what
cool.
was I doing? I don't know what this is. There's like a book, and then there's this was the microphone. Now it looks like a sort of a bad cake, a slice of cake.
With a rocket shooting out of
There's
it.
a rocket shooting out of the top of the microphone. There's like a weird dude with a thing on his head, and
But do you draw on the side? Is that something that you do?
I've always
or
enjoyed
it's a
drawing.
hobby?
I don't ish.
Yeah.
Ish. There's nothing. Yeah. I
So
don't know. I
you're-
used to. And I do sort of when I work on set. I wasn't Shameless long enough to have really worked some stuff, but I like to do caricatures of actors I work with. It's easier if you're on a movie set typically, because then you're kind of there for like
Yeah.
I don't know, a few weeks or a couple months kind of thing. So then you can kind of get to know them and steal a picture from continuity or the makeup department kind of thing, and then kind of work on that and stuff. So
That's
I
cool.
do like doing that kind of stuff, yeah, but
Awesome.
just for my own amusement. Yeah.
Well, if you weren't doing acting or voiceovers, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh man, I'd be at a bar somewhere, and I wouldn't
At
be
the
behind.
Alabama.
I wouldn't be
Cabs,
behind
yeah.
the bar. What would I be doing? At one stage, I kind of liked the idea of being like a news anchor.
Cool.
Like a long time ago, that was sort of cool. But then it's like I would want to embellish a little bit more. I had a
Yeah.
job briefly, like a survival job, when I first arrived in LA, and I was doing telesales. I didn't last very long at all because I quit. But it was like they gave you a script, to sell these like home security systems, and you're calling, these numbers and stuff, and I was like, well, you got to kind of improvise, because you can't do exactly, well, Mrs. Johnson, you've just won a hana, or whatever, and it's like you need to kind of go with the flow sort of thing, and I got sort of reprimanded for that. So I think anything kind of straight-laced or anything, I'm a very orderly person, though. Maybe I'd be in law enforcement. Law enforcement would be kind of, because I
That'd
have
be
a
fun.
big thing with the people who don't like use their signals when they before
I
they
hate
turn
that.
and stuff.
I hate that.
I want to conduct a citizen's arrest and
You'd be the
it's
cop that
terrible.
pulls over people for the little things.
I would.
They're
I
annoying.
really
They're
would.
so
I really
annoying.
would. I really would. Which is why I meditate. It's one of the reasons I meditate.
Cool.
Because I'm kind of being half facetious, but because stuff like that, man, it, used to get to me in a big way, kind of thing, But I just need to kind of just come back to zero. Yeah.
I read that you had started in stand-up comedy as well. It was,
Yeah, a long
how
time
was
ago.
that?
It's
What
kinda-
was that like?
Stand-up comedy was kind of fun. I'm an only child, so I kind of kept myself amused doing funny voices and this kind of thing when I was a kid. And then I would do shows. Like my dad plays bridge, and he used to have like, buddies over to play bridge and stuff. And I'd work like a little show with like some stand-up, and I'd do like a little bit of magic, and I'd come out in like this bow tie, and I'm like, oh, what a schmuck. Looking at it in retrospect. But it was kind of sweet, I guess. And I did stuff. I remember doing stuff where also I was doing, I made these little cocktails for my folks. I think I might have done it for my dad's bridge buddies once or twice, but mainly for my folks, I'd go in and I'd create something in the kitchen, and I'm like, no, I'm no chef. I had no interest in food after that, but I had those like sort of tall glasses that you'd have, but the slender ones you'd have like sherry in or something. It seems very sort of British. But,
Yeah.
I don't know what you would have in, but like a
champagne flute or something.
no, smaller than that. Smaller than
Oh,
that. It's like
okay.
a schooner, I think you'd call it. But anyways, it's but I would make like a layered cocktail thing. But it would be like you'd need a spoon, but not a cocktail in the sense of an alcoholic cocktail, like I don't know, some sort of almost parfait or something. I don't know. You see,
a
I'm
mousse.
not. Yeah, but it would be like a layered thing, and the thing is like. What happened is I remember specifically doing it once, and my parents would oblige me and be like, "Oh, thanks, Gideon," and be working their way through like sort of like there'd be like sort of whipped cream on top, and then there'd be like maybe some chocolate and some nuts and whatever, and then get to the bottom, and it's like I remember my mum going one time like, "Oh, it's just, is this cheese?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh,
She's like,
no.
Yeah, kind of like wasn't expecting savoury at the bottom of all that sweet. Yeah. That was going back to different. What was it? What was the question?
About stand-up comedy.
So lost. Stand-up comedy. Yeah. So stand-up comedy was cool. I was kind of like messing around with sort of material and stuff, and I thought that might be something I'd want to pursue. And then what happened was I started doing. I was doing theater at the same time, and I found myself in a couple of comedies on stage, and there was some really cool dramatic plays that I really wanted to get in on, and I just couldn't even get to audition, be considered for them, kind of thing, because I was seen as like a funny guy, and so I remember like having this whole thing with my agent, like, we need to like stop taking funny stuff. We must, not that they were getting me stand up, but we need to kind of not do any comedy at all in order to be considered for dramatic stuff. And so it was a very conscious decision of like sort of we did comedy and then we pretty much stopped and so that was kind of the end of the stand-up thing. But
Interesting.
I take my hat off to people who do it professionally, because it's
It's not easy stuff, huh?
it's what
It's not easy stuff.
it's not easy stuff, and it's you're kind of very naked and exposed, and your sense of humor isn't necessarily what everyone else finds funny, but
Well, your parfait cocktail is a good way to start.
it is a good way to start. And you know when I was still at drama school, I was in some talent show on TV, and I had some stand-up shtick, and I did some impersonations and whatever, and I got into like the final round, and then some other dude won, but I came second, and I won. I won a TV and a VCR.
Wow.
Now, VCR, for those of you who don't know,
Well, if you don't know, you shouldn't be watching Shameless.
that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, I was quite proud of myself. I had that combo for quite a while, but yeah.
Cool.
Well, it seems like you're a man of many talents,
Yeah.
because I do also believe that Valentine's Day is coming up
Do you
on
believe
Friday.
that? I believe it comes up every year.
But what I also believe is if somebody wanted to buy a CD with somebody singing My Funny Valentine on it, you might be able to direct them somewhere.
Yeah. Do I have? I don't know. There were iTunes.
It is on iTunes.
It is on
yeah.
iTunes. It is on iTunes and Amazon. A physical CD. They'd have to find me through my website, I guess. That's a little harder these days. I used to, but we're sort of down to. There's a sort of a handful which I'm gonna throw into the ether somewhere down the line.
So it was a
there
very
will be
nice
no-
jazz album. Do
Yeah,
you like to do
well-
that on the side, or?
You know what's more? Goodness me! You said I sort of took all these sort of long gestating projects. I mean, I've been talking for years about doing like an a cappella album, which I really, really want to do.
That's awesome.
And I want to multi-track everything, and all I've done is talk about it. I have like a couple of things I've laid down. I look at my phone because that's where music lives now. It's not just random looking at a phone. It is living on there. But so that's something I would like to do. But I don't know, because it's like a sort of a passion-y project, and it's not really for any. And it would cost a little bit to sort of do it, kind of thing. It's not something I've really pursued because it's it feels like a waste kind of thingy. But I should follow it through. Yeah. because that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Well, it sounded great. So, anyone out there wants to buy that for their special someone for the Valentine's Day, Phil?
Nah. I'll buy it. I don't know if there's anyone special.
Okay, I thought you were going to at the CD.
No, not the CD. Not at the
Fine,
CD.
you can have your own opinion, Phil, but you know, to share that right now when you're so close, it's just.
Yeah, here's the
sad.
funny
After you've
part.
built up
I
this
mean,
relationship,
in order to gain that special someone, I might need to buy a lot of them and just start handing them out to random girls. Hey, let's figure out who's special to me.
Do a new social experiment and put it on YouTube. See if any of it works.
We'll find out.
Nice. Do we have news and gossip or just predictions tonight?
Just predictions
Okay.
tonight. Shameless never has news.
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, I think I did state one earlier about how I think that Fiona and Sammy are going to butt heads at some point, and maybe Sammy's going to try to force Fiona to find out if she's a perfect match or she is a perfect match and try to force her to go under the knife and help Frank out a little bit. I think something that crazy could happen on Shameless. I wouldn't put it past them.
It could.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. Predictions. I'm not very good at predictions.
I'm not either. They're tough.
You can call them guesses.
Yeah, I don't like guessing. I think it's thoroughly unhealthy.
Well, there's Mike. I also think maybe he'll find out about Robbie through Fiona's texts. Maybe he'll have enough of her hiding stuff from him, and he'll sense all that and feel compelled to look through her phone or her personal belongings and find stuff from Robbie, like texts of him saying, "Am I making you wet?" And that'll totally just break a lot of
We
things
had
in her life.
we had a bit of a teaser though, didn't we? What was the teaser towards next week?
Yeah, where he punches.
He's punching him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
At the-
true.
yeah. I was thinking he somehow finds out through something
Something.
of Robbie's.
Yeah. Or maybe
Or we'll find something of Fiona's there.
yeah,
or
like she
something.
left it at his place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Those are.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I don't
tough.
know.
It's okay.
I
It's
wonder
tough.
what's going
You
to happen
have
with
to-
the cash. With the cash, like Frank, the insurance payout kind of thing. That all seem. I want to see. I want to see like the details of that business kind of thing. That's not a prediction at all. That's like that's my wish. That's my wish
Wishes
that
are
I find
fine.
out the details of the insurance payout. Yeah.
Phil, got any?
Not this week. I don't know. You know, I'm excited for the next couple episodes. I think, you know, obviously we're leading into something big by we have to have something by episode 6, because that's the midpoint, and then other stuff will carry through, obviously. Maybe we'll see the four kids of V's.
Oh,
then, you
man.
know, that'll be
That
fun.
would, yeah.
That's crazy.
So we'll see. I don't know. And
Ian.
we still have to see Jimmy /
Yeah.
Steve, whatever his name is at this point, because I've forgotten. And Ian, we haven't
Yes.
seen Ian.
I was hoping with the tease from next week that maybe we'll start finally, now that they're going to show up looking for him, that maybe we'll
Oh, that's
finally
right.
get to see
They
a little.
do.
Yeah.
And they find Lip at school, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, right, poor Lip.
So I'll be happy to get him back in
Yeah.
the mix too. All right, so where can they find everybody at?
You can find me on Twitter at JAJOURI and also on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast on Tuesday night.
You can find me at GideonEmery.com, EMERY, or Gideon Emery at Twitter. Yeah, just my name.
Cool.
And I'm at JJ Jurgens on Twitter and Facebook and website, and my blog, tomgirl.tv.
And follow us here at AfterBuzz TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
I'll see you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.